Will be adoption of the agenda. We do have one additional delegation regarding the Dakota Place development variance permit. That's Derek Jensen from Accolade, so we'll put him in probably just after the Eric Torberger delegation.
That.
Second.
All in favor? Motion is carried. So for delegations, we'll start with Mr. Dave Newbley regarding farms and comox. So you can come to the podium here, sir. And welcome.
Hello. So the original application was just for 2 one-day permits, one in the fall, one in the spring. I came here for the first time you guys looked at it. You passed it, but then you said the bylaw has to be amended, so you forwarded it to the fire chief, Gord, and I guess he changed it to be, well, he thought, well, you can't do much burning in one day on a farm, so well, how about 1 week in the spring? And I thought, well, okay, but how about a week in the fall? Because that's when we do most of our pruning. So basically what I'm asking for is a week in the fall and a week in the spring. I talked to Rick Julian, the other farmer, and said, do you want 1 day, or do you want to go get your fire burning permit 1 day and then you have 7 days to burn? And he said, yes, that would be the easiest thing. So basically we just draw one, he gets one or whatever. You just go apply for 1 burning permit and it's good for 7 days straight. So basically that's what I'm asking for. So 7 days in the fall, 7 days in the spring. Obviously, according to fire regulations, if it's too dry, we wouldn't get them, and they're issued by the fire chief. The other thing I was going to ask for is, in the subdivision, I guess you're allowed a 1 meter by 1 meter fire. That's sort of the size you're regulated to. Is it possible to get that enlarged for farms? I mean, I got 18 acres. 1 meter by 1 meter is probably not going to bother my neighbors, but I'm pretty sure a 2 or a 3 meter fire is not going to be that bad on 18 acres. So I'm just asking for an increase as well in the size of the fire.
All right. Any comments from staff at this point? Where's this bylaw amendment at?
It's part of our work plan, Your Worship. We'll be bringing forward probably early in the new year for Council's consideration in accordance with the recommendation that Council approved.
Okay, so at that point, Council can decide to change it. Okay. Any questions from members of Council that have done it? Go ahead, Councilman Kent.
Yes, thank you for coming forward to talk about your request. My question would be, if it came to choose 1 week, spring or fall, fall would be your preference.
Yeah. It'd be nice to have 1 day, at least 1 day in the spring to clean up all the blowdown and any other junk that's floating around the farm. But definitely the fall is the time to burn when we got it.
Thank you for that.
Councilor Margaret.
Hi.
Hello.
I was wondering, we have a weekly yard waste pickup. Is that useful to you on the farm? Given that it's there 52.
No, you would, I pruned over 1 week and I had probably 5 large piles, dump truck sized piles. And I just rented a chipper the other day for $200 and it took me 2 days to chip it all.
I think that answers my question.
Yeah, so they're pretty large piles. I can't wrap them up, and that's basically why I asked for the burning. Because farms, yeah, a lot of stuff.
Right. Good, thank you.
Councilor.
I'm just wondering, would 3 days be of any use, like 3 days in the spring, 3 days in the fall? I'm not sure what the critical number of days is that you're...
I'm just kind of going by what Gord said. He said a week in the spring instead of one day in the fall, and I thought, well, okay, I'd rather have the week in the fall. And the thing about it is if you get a week, you draw your fire permit, all of a sudden it looks like great weather, and all of a sudden the weather craps out. Then you got to wait maybe another 3 or 4 days. At least that 1 week gives you the time frame. It may only take 2 or 3 days to burn what we have, but at least it gives you a week if the weather comes up, and I'm in search and rescue, so if I get called out all of a sudden, at least it gives me time to come back and do something. So, yeah, I would say with the weather possibilities in the fall, 7 days would be more suitable for our needs.
Yeah, I guess just for clarity, when we do bring this bylaw back, my understanding was that you had 7 days to get a permit. You didn't get a permit for 7 days.
I'm not sure, am I correct with that?
Correct.
Yes, like you were saying, we just go get our permit and then we're good for 7 days. That wasn't my understanding.
No, that's what I'm asking for.
Yes, well, I just wanted to clear
Yes.
that up with how that's going to work, and perhaps when the bylaw comes back, we could make sure we're really clear on how that's going to work or what the implications of that would be. You know, Gord would know better than anyone, so he
The
would
way,
have talked to you, but
the way he explained it to me is that he said it would be a burning permit for 7 days or 1 week. That's the way he explained it to me.
Yeah, CAO, clarify that.
So I believe the approach that we use is that permits are issued for a day. They're only good for the day, and that the fires aren't supposed to keep smoldering through the night for the 7 days.
Okay.
So that, it does limit your, that's why your pile size is limited as well.
Okay.
It's tended to be a daytime fire, and that's it.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be 7-day permit.
Okay. Obviously, last week, we had a 3 or 4 day fire advisory issued notice by the Island Health Authority. And it was beautiful, clear weather, but because of the high pressure ridge,
No wind.
there was no wind, and I know that in parts of the valley you could see the layer. And I know that's attributed to many things, but obviously the climate is a factor. How would you see that? I mean, if you're going to be burning, that's going to be a contribution to that potential.
Yeah, I mean, when I do burn, it's like I try and wait for at least some decent wind so it doesn't, blow into my neighbor's yards, and, one of them's sitting right over there. So I do kind of care about what my neighbors think and how much smoke might be blowing towards them. So I do try and wait until it looks like we're going to have some wind or something. So, I mean, that would be a possible addition to the bylaw, based on weather or weather forecast, burning permit may be issued kind of thing.
Is there no market for your material in terms of any kind of biomass at this point?
Well, like I said, when we were in the regional district, we used to be able to take it to the Comox work yard, and then they shut that down. And then we were still able to borrow or sign for get burning permits. And then when we got taken into the township of Comox, it's like, oh great, we got garbage pickup, but we totally forgot about the whole burning issue. So I mean, for the last 2 years, I just had stuff piling up in the way back of my field, and yeah, so it's just.
I bring that up because through the solid waste function, we're looking at waste energy, and that is a material that can be used and has been used in some places for creating energy in a much more efficient way. But of course, the market for that is not here yet.
Yeah, I would think that would be like a huge wood chipping machine of some sort coming in. I mean, I also have large piles of blackberries that I clear, which I don't think would be too great for burning, but I have no idea. I haven't investigated.
All right. Anything further from the council? Thank you for your presentation. It'll come back to us in due course, probably in the new year, and we'll see what we do then. Okay. Thanks. All right, so we'll carry on with the next delegation, which is Eric Portler regarding 537 Anderson Road. Welcome, Eric.
So, you know anything about, do you have the
It's on our agenda, yes.
planning board in front of you?
Yes,
No?
we do. So you can speak to that if you wish. And are you here to present or just answer questions?
Just answer questions basically, I think it's fairly straightforward.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Mr. Horberger at this point? There is a staff report, and I guess we'll deal with that as we go forward. Looks relatively straightforward. So seeing no questions, I guess you can stand down for the time being.
That's it?
that was easy.
Well, you might want to hang out and see if anything does come up in the agenda as we go forward. All right, similarly, Mr. Jensen is here from Acalanes regarding the Dakota Place development variance permit. So any questions for Mr. Jensen?
Yeah, again, the staff report to council is quite thorough and I think captures the intent of the DVP, and if there are any questions, please feel free to bring them forward.
Don't see any at the moment, so thank you. Stand by. All right, next delegation is Mr. Denford and Mr. Baumhoff regarding the Berwick application. So welcome, gentlemen, and I'm not sure if you have a presentation.
Yeah, I was thinking about trying the same thing, but maybe not.
No doubt.
I'll be fairly brief.
There we go.
Good evening, Mayor Ives and members of council. My name is Chris Denford, and I'm the President and CEO for Retirement Communities. Thank you for this opportunity to present our updated plans this evening for your consideration. I am joined this evening by Bill Baumhoff, who heads up our construction team. Mrs. Bill here. As I mentioned in September, our organization joined this community about 10 years ago when we opened Berwick-Comox Valley. During those 10 years, we have been successful in providing the seniors of this community with the highest standard of housing in the province, and a quality of life that includes activities, varied services, and assisted living as required. An important part of this success is recognizing that our residents have a strong desire to remain connected and engaged with this community, and have joined us in supporting local community groups and charitable organizations. Our amenities are frequently shared with families and public groups, enriching the lives of our residents and strengthening their connection with friends, families, and the Comox community. Linda Rutherford, Berwick's Manager of Community Engagement, will provide more detail later this evening. Linda's here. As an organization, we are always seeking ways to improve and expand our services and amenity spaces. When we became aware that the property next door to us at 1666 Comox Avenue was on the market and the city was encouraging a higher density for the site as part of its downtown core initiative, we realized that we had such an opportunity. Our proposed addition will add 34 suites to our building, additional suites that will be required to meet the demand of a growing aging demographic. But most important, this will allow us to significantly improve and expand our amenity spaces. During our previous presentation in September, this council requested more detail regarding the economic impact this project will have on the local economy. You have a copy of the commissioned report, but it's worth noting that in addition to the construction jobs of 59 person years, this expansion will generate 11.3 full-time equivalent jobs yearly, and an additional $217,000 of annual spending in the Comox core. As a result, after the expansion, Berwick-Comox Valley will generate an annual spending in the downtown core in excess of $1 million. More detail was also requested regarding parking. I'm pleased to report that we have instituted a staff parking policy that requires all staff who drive to work to park within our underground parkade. At our September presentation, Council also requested that we consider a number of building concept proposals that were brought forward by a local citizen. We have analyzed these options, and so I will now ask Bill Baumhoff to share our findings.
So we analyzed the three options that were brought forward. Good idea. So we analyzed the three options that were brought forward that evening. And option one, which was presented to us, was inset the left front of the building and add a small wing to the right, giving us the same amount of square footage. But as you can see, the three red circles are the three red oak trees. The canopies are as they are surveyed by our surveyor, and the straight line across here is the root mass, where we did some root exploration to discover how far the roots encroached into the building footprint. And the root exploration was completed by our arborist, Aaron Salt, and Aaron is here today if you have any technical questions. And so that line indicates the extent of where the roots could be trimmed to and still save the tree. So you can see the same root mat or canopy and the root mass cuts way into our parkade. Even if we were able to rejig the parkade, the cut slopes to require during excavation would be impossible not to impact those trees. The next slide shows the same footprint, but our typical suites. the back of the building would be front-loaded or single-loaded, and the building would be quite a bit larger, pushing it to the front to get the suites required for us to make this project viable. And the roof canopies would be, extensively into the building. So the next slide was, the option was to just push the building back further, the same building that we had proposed, but just push it back further. But you can see the canopy is still quite extensively into the building. The root mass is still into the building. But more importantly, the building, pushing it back, would push it 1.7 meters into the required rear setback, which we felt wasn't a great relaxation to ask for, and it really didn't work for us. So we did not, because of that, we didn't spend a lot of time developing this option any further. The next option they presented was an L-shaped building. Same thing, even with the L-shaped building, single-loaded corridor. The tree canopy was still well within the building. The parkade is a problem to build because of the root mass. And the suite layout is single-loaded corridor. It pushes the building quite a bit closer to the road, the front property line. The canopy of the trees are encroaching into the hallways. And over 4 floors, we gain 16 suites in lieu of 34, or if we go 5 floors, 22 units. So as you can see, those 3 options, though they looked possible on paper, when you start to develop them with the architect, it just doesn't work. So during the last presentation, there was much talk about 6 floors and some suggestion from some of the councillors that they were uncomfortable with the 6 stories. So working with our architects, we thought, okay, how can we get a lower building and still end up with the additional common space required for our residents' needs and still achieve the 34 suites? And on top of that, there was a request from the planning department to include an amenity space. So now Chris will present what we call option number 4.
Can you mark that thing?
Sure.
Thanks. So as we worked through these options, we kept the planning department informed that they were not viable. And as a result, we received some additional constructive feedback from the planners. We're very pleased to present these plans tonight, which we feel addresses a number of issues very successfully. This proposal eliminates the 6th floor, and the overall height, the total height of this addition will therefore match the existing height of Berwick's rooftop lounge. Spreading the suites over a 5-story structure pushes the east end of the building, forward. However, this allows us to significantly increase the way the building steps back as it rises. We have a step back on level 2 and a very pronounced step back on the 4th level, right here. Overall, these changes to the massing create a very interesting form with significant stepping and alternating use of materials, the same materials that appear on the original building. Our revised layout will also allow us to provide the important public amenity that Bill mentioned earlier, which is the ambulance garage with lounge and shower facilities for the paramedics. The planning department had asked us to consider this from the very start of the design process. However, with this proposal, it is now possible, given the expanded ground floor area. So you can just see that this is the addition. And it's not just the amenities here that we're adding. It also allows us to go right back. It doesn't show this, but we're going right back along the main floor, right to the lobby with improved food services. We're going to add a bistro. We're going to expand our dining room into this area. We're going to provide a much larger private dining room here. So it improves all of these amenities as well. And then with these new amenities, we've got a larger staff room. We have a nice bar lounge for our residents. We've got a games area. We have a full movie theater with a sloped floor, much larger one than we currently have. A larger staff room. Garbage and recycling fully inside the building, which is quite nice. And then we also have the ambulance garage right here, as well as the lounge and shower and washroom for the paramedics. So it's really quite a nice plan.
Gentlemen, your 10 minutes is up at this point.
Okay, I'm pretty well...
Are you almost finished?
Yeah, actually, this just shows a larger version, which I should have showed you earlier. There's our parkade. It shows the... Obviously, this third tree has to go, but we are able to retain the other 2 trees, which is great. And that just shows typical floors, which really are not that useful for tonight. This shows the total height is the same height as our rooftop lounge. So it makes sense, and I think it's a great addition to the building. Just a bit more. Now, Bill, did you want to have a quick comment about
There was some conversation about the sun shadow study. You can see the blue is the 5-story building. The orange, or whatever color it is the neighboring building. And the red dotted line represents if it was a 4-story building. And the sun shadow study just showing that the 5 versus 4 doesn't make a whole lot of difference. And down here, in the winter solstice, it makes no difference at all.
That just shows the landscape.
Landscaping, significant water feature, saving of the true trees with a Gary oak meadow underneath, native planting as much as possible, and that will become the stormwater management plan.
I think that's it.
Okay, thanks, guys. Any questions at this time? All right, seeing none,
Just
we'll...
a quick
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I know there is concern in the community about the third tree, and we did just receive a letter saying that it's probably older than was mentioned in the report, because they're hard to date. However, I do understand where you're coming from, and I do appreciate the changes you've made. When you spoke about the native planting, you were looking at planting that would be found in a Gary Oak ecosystem. That's what you were...
Correct. In Gary Oak Meadow, looking at some of the landscape architect's plant selections, it's what you would see in an existing Gary Oak ecosystem.
And that's great. And I understand too that because of the bigger footprint, that area that there was going to be public access to had been very much reduced in size. I just wondered, and I also want to thank you, the ambulance station, that is wonderful, and being on Comox Avenue, it's a great addition. Is it not possible even just to have a seat under one of the trees so that if people are walking by, there's a quiet spot? I understand there isn't room for a public space anymore, but just, will it be open to the street side and
there's
a seat where people could sit?
Yeah, there is a place that we could do an indent and have a seat to sit, off of the sidewalk. There's not with the driveway required for the ambulance station, the building is like 35 feet from the property line, from the street. There's, by the time you add some trees, there's not a lot of space, and we don't even anticipate our residents walking through there. Just because of the planting and the limiting of hard surface underneath the Gary Oak. Can't have any hard surface in that meadow.
That's true, yeah.
And so, we've done a patio here, but it's short of the root system. We've got this trail connecting from a fire exit door here, clear of the root system. So, by the time you take in that Gary Oak, the water retention pond, there's not a lot of place for public accessibility. But we could introduce a bench where people can sit and look.
Yeah, I mean, if that's possible.
Yeah, it's possible. Sure.
And as I say, I'm sorry to see that we lose one of the trees, but I appreciate where you're coming from and the work that you have done to meet the concerns that we do have. Okay.
Welcome. Yes.
All right, so Hugh McKinnon, you want to ask something?
Just to see if I've got this correct in summary, going from 6 stories to 5 stories addressed the shading issues. You were unable to retain the third tree, but you've retained the 2 trees and did every effort that we could to try and save the third tree. The trade-off is the public space is smaller, but you are retaining some reference to Gary Oaks and a Gary Oak native plants in that area, and you were able to retain the ambulance station. But it did address the shading issues when you went from 6 to 5 better. So pretty much covered?
Pretty much covered. And in the previous scheme, there was no ambulance station. It was just a public amenity park, right? Whereas now, because of the added floor space on the ground floor, we have the possibility of adding the ambulance garage, station, whatever you want to call it.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it? No, Councilor Grant?
Just wondering, thank you very much. Great presentation, and we love what Berwick has done to our community so far. I'm wondering, could you estimate how many local construction workers that would be employed there should this application be successful?
When you say local, are we talking the
Comox
Comox
Valley,
Valley? Okay,
yes.
and not just Comox, right?
Prefer Comox, of course.
Yeah, obviously. I would suspect that on any given day during construction, at the top of the construction, there could be as many as 65 to 75 people working on site.
Really?
Yeah. Now, slower at the
Of
beginning,
course.
but at the peak, yeah, it could be as much as 60. But when I did the one in Campbell River, which was quite a bit larger, but you need the same type of people, just fewer of them. At the top, we were close to 200.
How much bigger is Campbell River's Berwick than Comox
And
Valley?
the addition or the total?
Well,
Campbell River has 132 suites.
Oh, does it? Okay.
We currently have 131.
Good. Okay,
But
thank you.
also, our policy is usually to try to hire local trades wherever possible. That's our first priority.
thought that would be the case, just wanted to
Yeah,
make sure of that.
And we do that because we're here to stay for a long time. And every worker who works on that building has got a mother, a grandmother, an aunt, who at some point in time will be looking and they'll say, you should go check out Berwick. So that's why we have a policy, we hire local first if it doesn't cost us too much more money.
Excellent, thank you.
All right, I think that's it. So we'll allow the next delegation to come forward. This is Linda Rutherford here regarding the outreach aspects of Berwick. And since they used about 5 or 6 minutes of your time, you only got 4 minutes.
Sorry, I timed it. I can speak for 9.5 minutes.
I'm very brief, she can have all mine.
So for me, it feels like Christmas has come early because I get to speak on behalf of Berwick to the Town Council. And while it's easy for you folks to get caught up in the details of construction and permits and bylaws, it's also easy to overlook the human impact that Berwick has on this community, and that's what I want to speak to tonight. On behalf of the seniors that live with us, and perhaps more importantly, the members of the community, both seniors and other ages, that come and spend time with us. I believe there may be some misunderstanding as to how Berwick and its residents contribute or give back to our community. And this surprises me because I have first-hand knowledge of what's happening in, around, and because of Berwick. So our recreation manager and I look back through our records from January 1st to June 30th of this year, so just a single 6-month period. We identified that 2,910 visitors, mostly seniors, but many baby boomers, attended events at Berwick that were specifically designed to include the public. So if that's the first 6 months of the year, you can only extrapolate out that since July 1st to the end of this year, there may be an equal number. So in a given year, up to 4,000 visits come to Berwick to attend programs and activities and events that have been designed for them. And I want to clarify that those numbers do not take into account the 40 to 60 family and friends that come in every day just to socialize. Some of our events are one-time activities, such as the most recent one we did, which was the Remembering Private Ryan dinner show. That hosted 50 members of the public. Tickets were gone 3 weeks in advance, so there was a lot of disappointment. Other activities and events happen weekly or monthly, and so I'm just going to tell you about a few of those because I want you to have a real understanding of what's going on in the heart of your town. Every Sunday our doors are open to anyone in the community that wants to join us for Sunday worship. So anyone living in downtown within walking distance or even driving distance can come, worship with us, stay for some social time after. For most of the 10 years we've been open, a chapter of Comox Valley Toastmasters has met at Berwick once a week on Tuesday evenings. The same goes for the Comox Valley's Needle Arts Guild. They meet at our building on Wednesday evenings. And I should add that we don't charge these groups for using our facility. Our only caveat is that our residents are welcome to attend whatever they're doing. We also suggest, if appropriate, that they might wish to donate $10 to the charities we support in the Valley. Every Thursday morning, Berwick's bus goes over to Valley View School and picks up the entire kindergarten class and its teachers and brings it back to Berwick, where class is at Berwick until noon, with a great mix of children and the seniors getting together. This program, this intergenerational program, has been so successful that it wouldn't be a lie for me to tell you we have several other schools in the Comox Valley phoning us saying we want to do a program at your school with you. This program has also recently been highlighted in a textbook published for student teachers called Constructing Meaning, Teaching Language and Literacy from K to 8. That book was written by Dr. Joyce Bainbridge, who is a Valley resident, but it wouldn't have been possible without a warm and reciprocal partnership between School District 71, Berwick, and the families whose children attend those programs. Once a month our doors are open to the Comox Valley's Philosophers Cafe. Everyone's welcome to attend. Once a month we also host Entertainment Hour, thanks to the unfailing dedication of Marlene Ulo and her friends and acquaintances in the performing arts community. That can attract up to 40 or 50 people every month. We continually offer educational series and seminars to the public. We want them to be the best Zoomers, Boomers and Seniors they can be. And we've taught them a lot of things. How to manage arthritis pain, how to identify and prevent elder abuse. We've done an 8-week study on major religions this year and how they affect the cultures in the world. We've hosted 2 art shows for the Comox Valley Art Group this year. Over the time we've been in the Valley, we've done several fundraisers for hospice, and in addition to that, we regularly host hospice volunteers and clients to facilitate bereavement workshops and advanced care planning workshops. We have taught people how to prevent falling over. We've held several scooter rodeos to promote mobility scooter safety around town. And we have an extremely cordial and productive relationship with our RCMP detachment and their Victim Services branch. Some of you may note we had a seniors boot camp early in October, and our own mayor was a guest speaker on day 2. Thank you very much. Once a month, the Comox Valley White Cane Club holds its meeting at Berwick. Most of the attendees are from outside of our retirement residence. A few of our residents attend. This has worked so well for that group that they've now been able to start a fledgling White Cane Club in Campbell River. We also have a group that meets at Berwick on Friday afternoons to conduct a yoga class for the visually impaired. You will all know that we've held 2 full to overflowing candidates breakfasts, which were open to the public to provide an opportunity for town residents of all ages to meet their town council hopefuls. These daylight meetings were hosted on Berwick's dime and encouraged people in the neighbourhood to explore the issues that affect them and to also meet the people they wanted to represent them. Occasionally, Berwick charges a small ticket price to attend an event, with all of the proceeds going to charity. We looked back as far as 2009, and since then, our residents and staff have donated over $30,000 to local charities, including the Food Bank, the Hospice Society, St. Joseph's Hospital Foundation, and Yana. On a normal day, it's not unusual for us to see 60 or 70 people, family members and friends, passing through our doors to visit, enjoy some Berwick hospitality, or sit in on one of our activities. I don't think it would be a stretch to say that many of our visitors who do not live in Comox, when they leave, they pop into the mall, or they pick up some groceries, or they stop at the drugstore. And I can tell you with a smile that the liquor store in the mall once visited Berwick to see if we had any of their shopping carts. We were a little puzzled by that until the liquor store employee said that our residents and their families were their best customers. If you visit Lou Bartholomew at the museum in the Comox Mall, he will tell you that if it hadn't been for Berwick's willingness to put on his display for a 3-day period a couple of years ago, he would not have pursued his desire to create that standalone museum. I'm also a town resident as well as a Berwick employee, and when I'm out and about around town, I frequently see our residents enjoying the town's amenities and business. Whether they're having dinner with family at the Blackfin or Smiddy's, or trying on something new to wear at Roxanne's, or even chatting with Tim in the medicine shop while they pick up some personal supplies. And one of the most frequent comments I hear from both our residents and family members is, "I'm so glad I live here, right in the middle of town where I can walk to almost everything." I also heard a ridiculous remark in recent weeks that everyone who lives at Berwick comes from the prairies. So I looked back over our move-ins since last November and discovered that of the 36 people who joined us, 23 of them are long-term Valley residents. So 64% of the people that came to live with us last year came from the Valley. 6 came from other parts of Vancouver Island, and only 7 came from outside of BC. All of them wished to remain in the Comox Valley where they had lived for a long time, or they came here to be closer to younger family members. I would like to make it very clear to everyone who's in the room tonight, and anyone who may watch these proceedings if they're going to be posted online, Berwick is not the big old folks home on Comox Avenue. The residents and the 80+ employees who work at Berwick are vibrant, active members of the community, contributing much with our judicious spending around town, opening our doors for education, entertainment and engagement, and by being a resource to any family that needs help or advice about issues surrounding aging and senior care or senior housing. We're also a wonderful training ground for the high school teenagers who are lucky enough to come and work with us. But the reality is we're running out of space. I currently have a waiting list of 31 people who have indicated a desire to move to Berwick, in some cases as soon as possible, and for some within the next 12 to 24 months. We're now turning away community groups and postponing activities because we just don't have more common areas in which to do them. Always an engaged community partner, we can expand our services, provide greater opportunities for interaction, open our doors even more to the seniors in the Comox Valley, but not until we can create some more space. Because I'm a town resident as well as an employee at Berwick, I'm in a unique opportunity to advocate on behalf of the expansion plans. It's possible that I may consider retiring myself shortly, so I have absolutely no personal gain in this, except to say that as a long-time town resident, I would like to be able to say Comox takes its official community plan seriously and is moving in a positive way to bring pedestrian traffic into a town that is age-friendly and actively pursuing and allowing development that will address the needs of our aging population and their families and the people who will be providing them with goods and services in the year ahead. So please, I'm going to finish. As you pore over your drawings and plans and you weigh up feet and inches and you talk about drains and trees, please remember the seniors, the staff, the adults, the teenagers, the children, the grandbabies, the community groups, the teachers, the artists, the poets, the authors, the performers, and local suppliers of goods and services who consider Berwick to be an integral part of their life here in Comox.
The end.
Thanks. Now, that also was overtime, so.
So you're out.
It wasn't that much overtime, Paul, I told you.
4 minutes precisely. In any event, we do have one more delegation. Susan, you're here. Mr. DeLuca, I don't see him.
No.
No, Mr. DeLuca.
So we'll have you.
Put 9 minutes and 30 seconds back in the pot.
You have your 10 minutes if you need it.
I don't, sir, thank you. Good evening, I'm Susan Wood. I'm the Executive Director of Comox by the Sea Business in Action. We believe the Berwick Retirement Home Expansion Project is an important part of revitalizing downtown Comox. More people living and shopping in the downtown area creates opportunities for expanded services and will continually boost the economic impact for both the retail and service providers. We also welcome the additional visitors who will come to downtown Comox to visit the new residents of Berwick, and who will also find that Comox is a perfectly wonderful place to move to and live and work and retire. For these reasons, the Board of Directors wish to show our support for the Berwick Retirement Home Expansion in downtown Comox. And that's it.
All right. So I forgot to ask if there's any questions, but since they went over time, they don't get it. But any questions for Susan's presentation? I don't imagine there would be. So concise and brief, self-explanatory. All right, so we're going to move on to the agenda, and that is to approve the council meeting minutes of November 18th.
Moved.
Second.
On approval, all those in favor? Motion's carried. And then for receiving then the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting, November 25th, need a motion?
Move receipt.
Second.
Receive then, all those in favor? Motion's carried. A written recommendation, which will be that the file off for Parks and Rec fees be forwarded to council here tonight, first, second, and third reading.
Moved.
Second.
In favor? Motion's carried. And then for receive the minutes of the public hearing, special council meeting held in council chambers on November 18th.
Move receipt.
Second.
In favor? Motion's carried. All right, manager report then for receipt.
Move receipt.
All in favor? Carried.
May I speak to that for just 1 minute?
May.
I'm just wondering about the Mac Lang Heritage Site Committee. Is this an appropriate place to put this? Or is this something forthcoming?
Well, we have the advertisement that went out, and I believe it'll come back to council and for
Next week.
Oh, next week?
Yeah, the
Okay.
deadline just passed, and
Oh,
then
okay.
we'll come back to council next week.
And if something comes out of that you want to add to the manager report, by all means, bring that forward.
Great, thank you.
All right, so that is, we voted on that, nothing further. Hard to believe a year has gone by. As is the custom, a year in review is usually prepared, and it's been prepared collaboratively with myself and the CAO and staff input. And I won't read it, it's all there on the agenda. I just will point out a few highlights. And many of the things in here are things that have happened, some small items, some larger items in terms of dollar amounts, but it's a good review of what went on in the town over the last year, of course, in addition to all the normal operations of the town. Some of the small grant amounts are shown there just to show really that staff are always looking for opportunities to cost share, and certainly at the rec center they've done a lot of that. And of course we know of the larger grants that were received in respect to the Marina Enhancement Plan, and staff are working towards finalizing the plans for tender purposes here by the end of the year. I think the other one that was a completion report really, and that happened back in March, was the opening and completion of the new Parks and Public Works buildings. And that's really all, other than the fact that, of course, we do have some good news on the financial front in terms of payouts of paying off long-term debt, and I think that's worth pointing out. And that'll come into play in our discussions around the budget here early in the new year. And it's good to see that happening, and it's a good reminder of the fiscally responsible approach that councils have taken over many, many years in terms of keeping debt as low as possible and also paying it off as quickly as possible. And of course, wishing everyone the best for the year and best of the season is an appropriate time to do that. So unless there's any questions or comments on that, we'll leave that as it is. Go ahead.
First of all, thank you very much for the report. I really enjoyed looking at your year in review, and it's fun to see some of the things that we may have forgotten about. One of the things I'm just curious about is a significant time and energy has been put into the permit application process, and I'm wondering if we've had any feedback from developers or...
See our planner on that one?
It's going well. The comments that I've received, at least my interpretation of the comments have been that the clarity has been very well received. The idea of knowing exactly what the town wants. I know from our perspective, it's reduced the application processing time. It's made things a lot more straightforward. And similarly with the public consultation, the idea of saying exactly what the town wants in the pre-application consultation has made things go a lot smoother. And it's a lot easier to review the applications and then before council on time.
Great, thank you. All the things we were hoping for.
Okay, anything further? Seeing none, we'll move on.
Do we need to receive any of these next,
Yeah, we'll probably,
or receive all three at the same time? Or, okay, I would move that we receive B 1, 2, and 3.
thank you.
Second?
All right, so B 1, 2, and 3 is the council committee list for the reference of people here in the audience or watching it online. And also that Myers Norris Penny be appointed as the auditors for 2016, and that signing authority for the town be given to the mayor, Councillor Ken Grant, Councillor Maureen Swift, Richard Gannigan, John DeQuest, and Shelley Westman. Those all be moved and seconded. Any further discussion on that?
That was a motion to approve, not receive. Correct?
Yeah, approve all that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So motion to approve all that. All those in favor? Motion's carried. And also we need to approve the meeting schedule as published for 2016.
Is that?
Second?
All those in favor? Motion's carried. And as you may recall, appointments to the regional district are done at the pleasure of council, and unless there's to be a change in those appointments, they would stay in effect for at least the next year. So unless there was something further coming on that, that would stay as is. And from my understanding and discussions with members of council, there wasn't going to be any changes to that, at least for this year, possibly next year at the halfway point. All right, so seeing no motions coming out of there, we do have the regional district meeting minutes for receipt.
Move receipt.
November 24th.
Second?
All those in favor? Motion's carried. And for bylaws, as indicated earlier from the committee of the whole, we have bylaw 1809, Parks and Rec fee bylaw for first, second, and third reading.
Move for second and third.
Seconder for that?
Second?
Thank you. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Now, under new business, we have the rezoning applications. First of all, for 537 Anderton Road, staff have brought that forward to us with recommendations to give it first and second reading and also to hold a public hearing.
I would move that.
First and second reading, moved and seconded. Any discussion at this point? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. And for the public hearing to be scheduled, a motion separately for that.
Move that
Second.
schedule public hearing?
And any indication date for that, Stephen?
16th of December.
Okay, as part of the council meeting?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor? Motion's carried. The next item is the development variance permit for Dakota Place, and that staff have brought forward to us the recommendation that the permit DVP 15A be issued, subject to the conditions listed in Schedule 1 of the report.
I would move that.
Second?
Second, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. And then the third item of new business is under the Berwick application, and staff, of course, have brought forward a report, and of course this is coming back to council after the previous presentations. And staff are obviously looking for some direction here on the development based on what you heard this evening and also based on this report.
So So if we wanted to move that, we would go to proceed with the 5-story development proposal and then do A, B, and C. Is that correct? I don't know what page it is.
Yeah, we're on
Page 80.
Page 98. Yeah, so, yeah, A, B, and C is at the bottom there, so.
I would move that if that's
So that's
appropriate.
under zoning amendment, bylaw number 1825 for first and second readings, so moved. Seconded, discussion. Go ahead.
I'd just like to thank the guys from Berwick for coming back and listening to the concerns that some council had, and I think they did a really nice job. I think their new plan looks great. But most of all, over the last 2 election cycles, getting our downtown moving has been it's been the key issue in both of those as far as I recall. And so I think this addition is really a good kickstart for the downtown, and if we get the one on the corner of Stewart Street is also starting, so we're seeing some things going on in our downtown, which is exactly what the public asked for. And I just think Berwick's been a really good asset to our town, and they always build first-class buildings, and I think that this is a really, really good step for the future of our downtown, so I just want to thank them for that.
Further comments?
I'd just like to add as well is that it validates that concerns can be heard, and it renews faith in developers, that they will listen and go back to the drawing boards and look at making some changes and take into consideration things when they can. And that's very positive to see and hear in our community.
Okay, anything further? Seeing none, you're ready for question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Secondly, then, that Homox Phase Development Agreement, bylaw 1826, for the congregate care, be given first and second reading.
Move.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor? Motion's carried. And lastly, that a public hearing be scheduled for those 2 bylaws at the Stara Senior Center.
Move. Second.
Any idea of date for that?
Likely, the earliest that we would anticipate would be the 3rd week in January. There are small standing conditions and correspondence.
All right, thank you. All those in favor? Motion's carried. All right, so that takes care of new business. We have 2 items of correspondence. First of all, a letter from Stuart Swain for receipt.
Move receipt.
Second for that?
Second.
On receipt then, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Any discussion? Seems to me at the regional district there's been some work done on air quality monitoring at least. I'm not sure what else to say about this. I guess we can refer the writer to the regional district and the efforts there to monitor in conjunction with Island Health, but anything further that we can do with this?
I think that would be appropriate.
I think that would be the appropriate direction.
Yeah, we did have some people from the Environment Ministry come and talk to us at the regional district about this, and really it's in the initial stages of the monitoring, and so they didn't really have too much to tell us on how we could fix this, other than that there's, we have some poor air quality, and so they're really in the initial stages. They did mention, though, that we do have the most modern testing equipment on the island, and so perhaps that plays a little bit into it in the fact that our monitoring is a little bit superior to most other places, so that may play a little part of it. But really what they talked about mostly is that we're in a valley, and when the air pressure it just holds things in, and it just kind of hangs in the valley, and it could actually be coming from outside the valley and causing the problem here for us. So, but that was, honestly, that was conjecture on his part. He said he felt that might be the way, but until they get better monitoring and more data, they didn't really have any solutions for it. So I would move that we do send that to the regional district or refer it to them.
Second.
Okay. On referral then, want to discuss that as to Matt, we're referring it to the regional district or other matters?
Just an added comment is that I think there was some confusion with the last air advisory warning given out by the regional district, and those that sit on the board, education of the public, I think, needs to...
It wasn't by the regional district.
Or so, right.
Yeah.
But any help the regional district can provide as far as educating the public.
Well, Island Health did provide lots of information as to why, and even then, people were questioning as to why. But Island Health obviously dealt with that through the health officer. I suppose the other thing we could point out here is that there is still, I believe, most recently, I think they initiated the Woodstow program.
Yes.
So again, that can be referred to in the letter. All right, so on referral to the regional district, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Received and referred. Okay, and then just for receipt, I think we need to receive this Berwick expansion, economic impact report. And seconder? Second. Just a quick question. Was this generated at our request, or is this generated at, I know that CVEDS is doing this now, but it just came sort of out of nowhere, so.
It wasn't done at our request, it's because the employee had requested the information.
Okay, because there's no cover letter, I think. So. All right, so we proceed and second and all that. All those in favor? Motion's carried. No other items, I believe, on the agenda or delegations, so we'll deal with reports from members of council. So with Councilor Margaret.
Thank you. First thing, National Child Day I attended along with other council members. There was a presentation by the UBC research team of the vulnerable children, number of vulnerable children increasing in the Comox Valley, which is a bit of a concern. It was a good presentation though. Also, we took a tour around the school and into the First Nations classroom, which was a very moving experience. I really enjoyed it. Also, the children introduction to social and learning classroom was also a learning experience for us. And of course, the Friendship Garden. Then I attended the library board meeting in Nanaimo. There was a presentation by the Heart and Stroke Foundation there. And what was most interesting was, one, it was free of charge. He was offering it. Secondly, there were, of the 38 boards represented at the table, there were several who did not have defibrillator. I'm determined. I cannot pronounce that word. There must be a short word. One of those. But also, the best part of that is that Comox has 28
defibrillators.
AED.
Yeah.
Oh, is that? Thank you. They did that.
You've got to get your acronyms going.
Thank you for that. Also at the library, they were doing much to encourage First Nations sections within our libraries, and of course searching out First Nations authors and local information, which was a very informative and interesting meeting. Attended the firefighters banquet, and they were acknowledged for the outstanding service that they give to our town, and obviously we agree. Tree planting, the town of Comox honored the city of Courtenay in their celebration of 100 years with a beautiful sequoia tree, and we were there to acknowledge that. And the BIA Christmas tree light-up was wonderful.
Excellent. Councillor Kenny Grant.
Yeah, I ended up going to the firemen's Christmas party, and I also attended yesterday's economic development meeting as we updated where we are with our new sign, which we are very, very close to completion on and should be starting to build any day now. We didn't have a regional district meeting last week, so not much to report there. And I think that's about it for me. I missed the tree light up. I meant to go and I missed it. So. Yeah.
We lit one for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor McKinnon.
Yes, I was honored to attend the Comox Fire Department Awards dinner along with some other councillors and the mayor. Attended November 24th, the BIA meeting, and at the end of the meeting I asked if other councillors could be welcome to attend the BIA meeting, and the executive assured me that they would be welcome. So occasionally I may ask councillors to join me and come to the BIA meetings, and they want to have a good relationship with our council. November 26th, Councillor Arnett and myself met with Compass and Ventures down here about some of their ambitions and plans. On November 27th, there was the successful homeless support service referendum vote, and leading to that, today I met at the Comox Valley Homeless Coalition meeting today, and they're hopeful that the Regional District Board will approve the vote and the service so that they can move forward with their first-year plans to add transitional housing and supports in 2 areas in the Comox Valley.
Great, thanks. Councillor Price?
Yes, I was on an ABITC Solid Waste, the Solid Waste Regional Committee teleconference, and also a UBCM teleconference for the executive on the new legislation for off-road vehicles, and that's just come in November with licensing, and the ICBC worked closely on that, and the presentation I think I'll send to the regional district. We probably don't want to put it on our website, or we can. It speaks to the use of Crown land with off-road vehicles. There was also a question as to whether local government would wish to see the legislation apply to parks and local government land. I don't think it's an issue within the town.
We don't allow any motorized.
But probably for the regional district, yeah, it's a lot of safety stuff. I was at the Christmas dinner at the fire hall, and there was no call out during the meal, which was
a first.
A first, yeah. There'd been one just before.
It was about 15 minutes before, though.
That was, I went to the UBCM executive meeting in Vancouver, and we did have supper at the Chinese consulate, and had some jellyfish for the first time, which I learned afterwards, but it actually did taste very good. Out of the executive too, we did learn and look at the action to take on the downloading from the province on DNA sampling, and that can be a very considerable ticket item in any serious investigation, and it has until recently been a federal provincial sharing, but now some of the provincial is already being received at our leasing station. So I did send the information to Lloyd to send out to everybody. So
yeah, it was in the UBCM newsletter.
You read the information, yes. So so hopefully we will get that reversed. I was also at the Comox Archives and Museum meeting, and more work on the 102nd Battalion exhibit. We are the only museum in the valley that is doing a commemorative display of the 100-year anniversary of when they left for the First World War. I did the Aspen Park Elementary School walkabout as part of the Active School travel project, and again it was gale force winds, not so much rain. Seems like they picked bad days. And Shelley also came and joined us afterwards, and did some good messaging too around. It's easy to have wish lists about flashing lights and sidewalks, and they could fit into the plans, but there's also lots of things you can do that don't have a big budget line. So we will be getting information back from them.
They're aware of our transportation study.
They have their own copy. Yeah. And that is it.
Thanks. Councillor Swift.
Okay, I attended the National Children's Day event held at Courtney Elementary, and I won't go into any more detail, but it was interesting to visit a couple of the classrooms and learn about the programs that they offered. I attended the firefighters' Christmas party. Great evening, and I was pleased they did get to stay for their dinner. I understand they also had a call out at 2 in the morning, so you got to squeeze those things in where you can. I attended the tree planting in Sims Park, and I have to say I really think it's a good idea to gift a tree rather than some other item that we might have come up with. So hopefully it'll be there for a good long time. And I attended the tree light up and enjoyed the music provided by the Military Wives Choir. And I assisted with some of the setup for the Philberg Lodge craft event that took place last weekend.
Great, thanks. Attended many of those same events, so I won't repeat those, but a couple of the things that were somewhat unique were the Tourism Vancouver Island organization are doing a bit of outreach, and they met with myself and the CEO along with the representatives from the Economic Development Society the other day and just talked about some of their focus areas in terms of enhancing destinations and tourism product. And they may well come to us in the new year with a bit of a presentation on that. They were funded in part by Island Coastal Economic Trust. We had a board meeting for that. Still some applications coming forward on that, so we'll carry on with that as long as we can. Probably another couple of years if all the funding applications are approved. We'll be able to last for at least 2 more years. At a mayor's lunch, call it the 4 mayor's lunch, because we had Chief Councillor Rob Everson host us, and it was a good discussion around issues of common interest throughout the valley. Of course, lots of things going on in our different jurisdictions, and a good opportunity to share some ideas. Rob Road, kindergarten class, came in to see me and the council chambers, and that was put together by Shelley Russworm here. Her daughter goes in that is a part of that class, and they had some pretty tough questions, but I think I handled most of them. They're very well prepared and very polite, and kudos to the class teacher and the parents that came along to the event. They had also been to the fire hall and the library that day, so a busy day for them. The Economic Development Society hosted or toured 3 different sites within the Comox Valley that are designated under the foreign direct investments category. And that included the property owned by Soul City Gas, which is a Korean company, at the end of the logging road near the Ridge development. And they've got a long-range plan to put a spa, a resort, emphasizing herbal gardens. So imagine, if you will, a mini Bouchard Gardens kind of operation. So they've cleared the site of the sawmill that used to be there, the old TF Specialty Sawmill, and they're working on the plans and infrastructure. So it'll be very interesting to see that go forward. Korean company, as I mentioned, a gas company. I asked, well, what's a gas company and what's the land for? But they're looking to diversify, and that's one of their projects. Also visited Fanny Bay Oysters, well known. Of course, a few years ago it was acquired by an American company, and talked to them about some of their challenges and opportunities. As you may recall, they had a Vibrio issue last summer, but they're still exporting a lot of product overseas, and just kind of see how they're doing with some of those operations. And then lastly, we went and visited the Natural Glacier Waters bottling plant. It's at the end of Berry Road in Fanny Bay, down near Rosewall Creek, essentially. 100,000 square foot building, huge operation. And their recent expansion involves significant investment in equipment. They employ 40 people currently, and they're looking to employ another 30. They're looking at integrating within their operation all the bottling, from creating the bottle to recycling it and getting it back into a point where you can use it again. So a Taiwanese operation which has offices overseas in Japan and Beijing. In fact, I mentioned that we visited their office when we were over there. So that was a good tour, and of course Mount Washington being the most recent example of foreign direct investment, with an American company buying that. CVED's Economic Development had their quarterly board meeting yesterday, a lengthy meeting to go over the draft 2016 work plan, and I've encouraged them to come and present some of that to us in the new year as well. And they're a very active staff with lots on their plate, and it's good to know that the Shellfish Festival will be running again. I don't think there's any doubt that it would, but it'll be running again bigger and better in June of 2016, so look for that to come as well. And I did circulate to council by email, or have it circulated by council, the recommendations of the climate leadership team, which I served on. Those were released last Friday, and public comment on that will open probably sometime in the new year. And with the Paris climate talks ongoing, there's lots of good information there if you want to go through the report. And lots of discussion, of course, has already been held within the media and out in the public generally. So it'll be something we may want to have a closer look at as we go forward. And then the province will have to decide how and when they're going to implement, hopefully, all of those recommendations as a package. So I believe that's my report on the report side of things. And just in terms of media questions, any at this particular juncture? Yes, go ahead.
Just on the heels of what you said in your eyes with the climate change and the toxin. So with the CPRD receiving the report on air quality, and granted it was the preliminary stages to start the discussion, although it was alluded to the fact that lots of municipalities in the province are already taking the lead and spearheading management teams. So what is Comont's role in the region? Would it get involved in championing perhaps a committee to look at? Or is your role just basically to take direction from the CPRD?
On the air quality issue?
On the air quality issue.
I believe that issue has been discussed at the regional district and will probably remain there. There's a monitoring station that's been put in place in Courtenay, and we take that information and whatever action items come out of that would come from the regional district, I would imagine. I mean, we've already, at the town, of course, banned backyard burning. Of course, we heard from the farmer earlier about some of the requested exemptions for that, but that's one element of it, for sure, that has been discussed in the past number of years. And then we certainly have supported and encouraged wood stove buyback program. There have been people here at this council over many years, at least residents concerned about wood stoves. And the more efficient they can be, the better. It's a bit of a sensitive issue because for some, that is their sole source of heat. So we're trying to encourage and incent rather than, I guess, except for the case of backyard burning, banning. So that's kind of where it sits at the moment, and we'll see what happens further in the regional district. Okay, any questions from the public? No? We don't have an in-camera meeting this evening, so motion to adjourn.
Move.
All those in favor? Meeting adjourned.